So I just come on here today. I want to say happy Friday here in October. I just want to come on because a lot of people ask me why do you want, people to know what you went through? Why do you care, to express that? Because when I was going through what I was going through, I think the hardest part for me was just, I would have to say, being a single mom, and having a divorce so young. I was afraid of what people would say about me. I was a people pleaser, and it was hard for me. It was really hard for me. It was so hard for me. I'm not even gonna lie. I was always up in my head. It was like everything that I went through, I couldn't get out. Like I was stuck. Like I was just stuck trying to just fight out. I was stuck trying to just move out. I wanted to just be out, but I wanted to just be okay because I didn't want people to say that I was, that I was different or I was looked at whatever, because I was so into just trying to please everything around me that it was like I was trying to keep a smile on my face so that people wouldn't know what I was going through, and not because, I know everyone has something, but in my case, it's different. It was different. And the reason why I say that it was different is because it hurt so bad that it just was like, it was like, how can I explain it? It was like I was in my head trying to run from my own mind. It was like everything that I said to myself, I'm okay. Everything I did for myself, I'm okay. Everything I wore, I'm okay. The way I dressed, I'm okay. I got up and I'm okay. But at the end of the day, was I really okay? No, because I would cry myself to sleep so that my children wouldn't see. I wouldn't let my children see me crying because I was afraid of them seeing me weak and that they didn't have anyone to be strong, because I was a single mom and I felt like I had to be mom and I felt like I had to be dad at the same time. But the reason why my situation is so different is because even when I wasn't alone, this is the hardest part. Even when I wasn't alone and I was married, I was still alone because I couldn't express to him the way I really felt without, not necessarily him telling me that something was wrong with me, but him saying it like in a different way. Like it just, I overthink everything, and I'm going to be very honest with you. I overthink everything so much to where I can create a scenario in my head and swear that it's facts when it's probably not facts, but at the end of the day, it probably was facts because he's not here, I'm not saying that he is a bad person or I was a bad person or because I went through a divorce, I was a bad person. That is just the way that I felt, and I beat my own self up about situations that happened to me in my life because of my own thoughts. Like I was trapped in my own thoughts, thinking and overthinking things about me and thinking that people were thinking bad things about me, but the whole time it was me creating them in my head. It was me imagining that these things were happening. Whether they were happening or not, I was overthinking it. So it was happening times 10. And it was happening because of the things that I was going through. I didn't know how to distinguish between good feelings, bad feelings, and so everything just kind of was bundled up, and I didn't know what to do with them. I didn't know what to do with these feelings and these emotions. They were just together, bound up, mixed up inside of my head, and me growing and not understanding what was happening and why it was happening was making everything worse. So the reason why I need to be here to speak to some that are probably feeling the same way is because when I was going through that, I wish I had someone to help me go through that. Because I feel like I would have been at ease with some things. I would have been a little more lenient with myself. I would have been a little bit more understanding with the growing that I was going through. And because I didn't have anyone, to help me explain. I'm not saying the things that I went through because of my own self, but at the end of the day, I didn't know how to understand what I was going through in my head, in my mind, in my thoughts, in my feelings. And so between all of those things all mixed up together, like I said, bundled into this little tiny ball, made everything worse for me, because it's like there's a bush of feelings, good feelings, bad feelings, mixed feelings, crazy feelings. I don't know what type of feelings were all mixed up into a ball, and I didn't know what to do with them. And because I was not understanding what to do with those feelings, I made things worse for myself, because I ended up getting bitter. I ended up being sad. I ended up being hurt. And I don't know if I was hurt because of the things that I did to myself, which is probably a little bit of it, because we don't realize that the feelings that we have inside don't all come from within. They come from things that have happened to us, like trauma, like growing up, us being opened up to or being exposed to different things. And throughout all of that, bottom line, 101%, nobody tell me that none of this has anything to do with love. I want to say 110% it has to do with love. We didn't feel like we were being loved in anything that we thought and anything that we did. So we wanted to just, we wanted to, I don't even, I can't even complex the way, I can't even comprehend the way that I felt, because it was so complex. I apologize. That's what I was trying to say. But I feel like there's so many young women that go through so much that we don't deserve, but because we don't have anyone there to help us through the way we feel, how to express the way we feel, how to be real to a person, to speak to someone about the way we feel, because we're going to be afraid of what we're going to do to ourselves, or what they're going to think of us, or what's going to happen in the middle of the two being crossed together. The reason why I'm saying this is because I was there. I've been there. A divorce at a young age, being a single mother at a young age, mom not being there for me, not saying that she is a bad person. I love my mother, but there's so many things that we go through as young individuals growing up that we shouldn't have to go through alone. We go through these feelings because we don't know how to express them. We go through these things, we go through the extra on top of the extra, because we don't understand, and because we don't have anyone to tell us or to explain to us how to process them, or how to digest them, and know that if we're feeling it doesn't mean that something's wrong with us. It just means that we just need time to process them. And it's okay to be real. It's okay to be weak. It's okay to show that. It's okay for people to see that. And if I would have been told that 20 years ago, let me tell you, today, it wouldn't have taken me this long to come on here and be able to express that I didn't understand what those feelings were. So because I didn't understand, I closed myself up. I isolated myself because I felt different. And so because I felt different, I made myself look different. And in the end, it's not always good, because there's nothing wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with us. The only thing that I can say is it's traumas on top of traumas on top of traumas. And that doesn't mean that something's wrong with us. The only thing that it shows is that we have trauma. Okay, we have the trauma. Now we need to understand what to do with the trauma so that we can grow and become better individuals, better adults, better women, better men, better children, better people, better friends, better moms, better, you know. And I wish that I had that, but because I didn't have that, I went through so many years of fighting with myself, with my mind, because I didn't understand how to process what I was going through. And so I made things harder for myself as an individual, as a mother, as a friend, as a colleague, as an individual that's crying out for help. And I was looking for love in places that didn't exist. And it will probably because I overthought it so long in my head, it made me overthink. And I always said, I would always pray to God, because I was a firm believer of Jesus Christ. I always said to myself, take away, Jesus, this is my prayer, Jesus, take away the things that aren't good for me. No matter how you have to do it, if it hurts me, take it away, but replace it with something 10 times better. And once again, I'm not saying that my divorce was a bad thing. I mean, it hurt me, and I went through a lot of, stress, and I went through a lot of anger, and probably bitter with that. But we were young, and we were going through things in our heads, and we were just two people that we just went opposite directions. We're friends to this day. I don't have any issues with him to this day, whatsoever. I'm, now married to, a beautiful Hispanic, man that I really adore, because he never one time did he ever judge the way I thought. Never one time did he ever judge the way I processed information. He would just listen. Whether I sounded crazy, because I probably sounded crazy a lot of the times. Whether I sounded crazy, that man would just sit up and just listen to me for hours, just go on and on about everything that I felt inside my head, inside my heart. Every single thought that I had, he just would listen. He wouldn't say a word. He would just listen. And I think I have to say that's what I needed, for someone to just listen to me without judgment. And I am that. People that don't feel like people that have trauma, people that go through trauma, just need someone there to just listen. Because in our heads, we go through all these things. And me, being the person that I am, that I overthink every single thing, create scenarios in my mind that I know that don't exist. I just needed someone to just listen to me without judgment, and answer and just say, I'm sorry that you feel that way, or I understand. Not, you know what I mean? Not just be there to just judge, or to just make you feel out of place, or just to make you feel like you weren't good enough. And I have to say that he never made me feel like I wasn't good enough. He never made me feel like I was crazy. He never made me feel like the way I felt inside, whether it was crazy or not. He never made me feel crazy. Not one day of my life. Not one day. I was so mad and I was so angry that I went with broken relationships with my parents, with my mom. I was blaming her for things that weren't even her fault. But it was all about what was in my head. At the end of the day, and I'll say this throughout everything that I say, about every single thing that I come on and I talk about, that Serenity poem does a whole lot for me, because I wasn't blaming anybody else. I was blaming my parents, and it wasn't their fault. But the problem was they didn't have someone helping them understand what they were going through, helping them spread it out across the board about what they were, what feelings they had inside, the way they felt about things, the way they continue to feel about things that's happening around them, whether they're 15 years old and they're trying to understand why their parents are going through a divorce and why they have to be in a single mother home or a single father home. They don't have anyone there to talk to them. They don't have anyone there to help them understand the feelings that now is processing inside of their heart, inside of their head, and feeling like they're not enough because they don't have the mother and they don't have the father, and they were lacking. In general terms, they were lacking something that made them feel different. And so because they didn't have someone there to explain why they felt the way they felt, or someone that went through what they were going through, they didn't know how to process those feelings. And because they didn't know how to process those feelings, they went through things. And they had children, they brought those children into that same trauma. And without them understanding their trauma, they brought children that had trauma or that ended up with trauma because of their trauma on top of trauma. But bottom line is because they say go see a counselor. And I'm gonna tell you, counselors, I'm not knocking counselors, and I'm not knocking psychologists. What I'm gonna tell you is a counselor cannot understand what you're going through because they haven't been there before. I'm not saying that they all haven't been there before, but if you haven't clearly been into a situation where something has happened, where trauma's happened on top of trauma, on top of trauma, on top of trauma, they can pinpoint what is happening to an individual, but they cannot talk you through what you're feeling inside of here, what you're thinking inside of here. And so that becomes a problem because you guys don't connect. And did I have a counselor? Yes. And I am not afraid to say, because that one conversation with the counselor that I have for 10 minutes, a month, or even 2 weeks, it helped me because she didn't even know who I was. She didn't even know anybody that I was related to. She didn't have anything to do with me, and she wasn't going to talk about me anywhere she was at because she didn't know anything about me except what I was telling her. So she doesn't know my mother, she didn't know my father, and she didn't have that. So yes, I spoke to a counselor, but on the flip side of this, the one person that supported me when I was broken is, besides God, is my husband. He was the one-on-one person that allowed me to truly be me. If I wanted to scream and fight and yell in the corner over there by myself, he let me scream and fight and yell. He just sat there and just listened, calm down. That was his tone every single time. I would be mad at him, tell him that I hated him, and he still, 14 years later, he still wouldn't want to be with anyone else but me. But I've said all of that to say, you don't deserve the trauma that you went through. You're not the trauma that you go through. You're not that person. You're not the broken person. You have a great heart. You have a great mind. You're important. You're loved. If you're not loved by anybody else in this world, just remember, Mama G, Sharia, loves you. And I'm praying for your strength. And if no one ever tells you, or if you don't find, or if God doesn't give you a peace of mind at the end of the night. I'm praying for every single one of the broken, every single one of the lacked, every single one of those single mothers, every single one of broken fathers, of the feeling not worthy. I'm praying. And when I'm saying praying, it's every day. I talk to God every single day. Every single day. And God, at the end of all of this, I was different. I felt different, and I went through those things in my head because God allowed me to go through those things in my head because He wanted me to be here to be able to tell my story to each and every single one of you, to let you know that not one day went by where I lacked. I'm 40, a proud 40 years old. Proud as hell because I made it to 40. Fighting the battles that I had in my head. I'm proud. God blessed me with a wonderful husband. To be able to deal with me, a wonderful husband. Beautiful children. I have 4 of my own that I had with the previous husband, 2 that I have with my current husband, and 5 that he had brought into our marriage. Proudest woman ever. Has it been easy? Absolutely not. But it isn't one day that I wouldn't go through the struggles, the battles that I go through with all of my children. I would not take it back, because without those struggles, without everything that I go through, as of today, October 21st, 2022, if it wasn't for each and every single one of the struggles, the mind games, the heart of feeling broken, I wouldn't be able to be up on here speaking to you, being an advocate to let you know God knows. He's watching, and He's got you. He's got you. You're on my prayer list, even though I don't know you by name, but you're on my prayer list every single day because I've been there. And it sucks, but you're gonna get through it. You're gonna get through it. Okay? Stronger than ever. I love you.